All right, ladies and gentlemen. Time to bring you my final reaction for today. Time to get started with Jujutsu Kaisen. So, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to my last reaction for today. We had a wonderful return of One Piece. We had by far one of the best chapters of My Hero Academia, and now we get to see what happens in the next chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen. Because last we left off, Gojo was able to inflict a wound on Sukuna that caused Malevolent Shrine to dissipate. Also, I got the wrong chat thing up, sorry. It still has it, and I have the wrong marks on here too. This is not My Hero. This is Jujutsu. And I need to fix chat. See? Let me fix that. Hold on. This is a holdover from when I did My Hero. I gotta refresh it every time for a brand new stream. I forgot to do that because I was too distracted with my burrito. Let's begin. Alright, there we go. Chat's all good now. Last we left off, Gojo basically inflicted enough damage on Sukuna to cause Malevolent Shrine to dissipate. And last we see is that Gojo's nose starts bleeding. As to why it's bleeding, I don't know. It could be a number of things. But then we also see the wheel of Maharaga turning in on it like a separate space, but it's not on Sukuna yet. So we're just gonna have to see what happens here. And we begin with chapter 229, Inhuman Makyo Shinjuku Showdown Part 7. And they can see that Gojo's nose is bleeding. And even Yuta can see it. A bloody nose? And then Sukuna, and both Gojo and Sukuna use domain expansion. And they try to use domain expansion again. With Yuji screaming, "The same time again!" And then Hanakurusu, which means Sukuna can also repair a burnt-out curse technique with reverse curse technique. So, something that Gojo had a leg up on at the beginning, Sukuna has now learned how to use reverse curse technique to repair a burnt-out technique. So now Sukuna can do that. So now every time they come out of a domain expansion, they can then use reverse curse technique to cause them to allow them to use their techniques all over again. It's like a never-ending battle between these two. The same time again! Which means Sukuna can also repair a burnt-out curse technique with reverse curse technique. Could he from the start, or did he learn it? How many times have we said curse technique today? And then Kusakabe. During the 3 minutes until Sukuna destroys the outer shell of Gojo's domain from outside, Gojo has to hurt Sukuna enough that Sukuna can't maintain his domain. Then Shoko speaks up. Don't sound so pessimistic. Gojo can immobilize Sukuna by bathing him in unlimited void for just a few seconds. If he can destroy Malevolent Shrine in 3 minutes or less, Gojo wins. And it shows Gojo using domain amplification on his hands because his hands are glowing. And it shows him just unleashing blow after blow after blow onto Sukuna. And Sukuna jumps out of the air, but then Gojo proceeds to yank Sukuna airborne and throw him into his own Malevolent Shrine. Then it cuts to Gojo, who's preparing to hit Sukuna again, and it's just a wide exchange as Sukuna keeps getting thrown into his Malevolent Shrine over and over and over and over again. And Gojo, as he's clashing with Sukuna and they're each repelling each other's attacks, all you get is just like the sneer from Sukuna and the wide-eyed, elated expression of Gojo. Now, mind you, we don't get the same expression he had when he was facing off against Toji Zenin, but we still get that wide-eyed, crazy, six-eyes look. And then we see Malevolent Shrine just exploding from impacts again, and we're back in the present. They're outside of their domain expansion. The same time again! And it shows Sukuna's face as it's like Gojo pretty much tore a chunk off of Sukuna's face, like going from here upwards. Like, Sukuna's sustaining damage. Gojo may have had a bloody nose, but Sukuna's actually sustaining a little damage. The same time, again! What a nail-biter, goes Mei Mei. I mean, Mei Mei is, regardless of what happens, Mei Mei is making billions off of this. She literally has a whole pay-per-view showing Gojo fighting Sukuna. She's making millions of dollars just from people watching this whole fight go down. And then Choso, what a nail biter. Yeah, but this means that Gojo's the stronger fighter inside a domain, right? And then Yuji, and that was Miwa. And then we get Yuji. He can win this. And then Sukuna gets launched backwards by Gojo, who punches him into a nearby pillar. And they both use domain expansion. And they use it again. Hey, just now. What happened? Yeah. Maybe, only maybe, but I think Gojo Sensei's domain was slightly faster. Curse technique repair lags depending on the degree of physical healing. The difference was less than 0.01 seconds. But unlimited oh my goodness! Yo! Curse technique repair lags depending on the degree of physical healing. The difference was less than 0.01 seconds. But unlimited void hit. And Yo! Sukuna gets hit with... he finally falls prey. He finally falls prey to unlimited void. And that allows that... And then we see what happened when Sukuna came out of Malevolent Shrine with a big old gaping hole in his chest. Gojo did it again. His unlimited void hit. His domain expansion is faster than Sukuna's. And this allowed Gojo to implant yet another hole in his chest. Inside Satoru Gojo's domain, in the 2 minutes and 40 seconds since the last domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine collapses. And Malevolent Shrine behind Sukuna just completely gets destroyed. Unlimited void. And then it shows Sukuna being affected by unlimited void! Now, as great as this is, I'm still worried. And I'll tell you why. And then it cuts to Gojo, who starts speeding towards Sukuna, who's being affected by unlimited void. I ain't done yet. I still want to crush his heart, lungs, and liver so he's closer to death than Yuji was at the juvenile detention center. With this treasure, I summon. I knew it. This is what I was worried. This is why I was concerned. I summon 8-handled sword divergent Sila divine general Maharaga. This is why I said I was concerned. I knew he was going to use Maharaga. I knew he was going to use it. I knew it! It was in the back of my mind. It's all like, oh no, Gojo is getting it. Gojo's doing work. He's succeeding. But then I remembered the panel with Maharaga's wheel turning. And the fact that Sukuna never brought out Maharaga at all. Now, when Sukuna is... It shows you that Sukuna is with his back against the wall if he's bringing out Maharaga. Which is pretty much the strongest of all the Shikigamis of the Ten Shadows technique. It shows you that Sukuna has no choice but to bring out Maharaga. He's been affected by Gojo's domain expansion, which means that if he's affected by unlimited void once, it can happen again. So what do? You bring out the Shikigami that is basically Doomsday. 8-handled sword divergent Sila divine general Maharaga. And then Maharaga's directly in front of Gojo. Maharaga? At this time, I'll have to destroy it with one attack before he can adapt to unlimited void. Curse technique reversal! And then Maharaga punches the ground, and it dissipates unlimited void. He punches the ground with his curse technique sword, dispelling sword, and it dissipates unlimited void just like that. What? He's already adapted to unlimited void. So see, this is what I was fearing. This is exactly what I was fearing this entire time. I knew as soon as Maharaga was brought out. See, for me, I actually thought that Sukuna was just going to take the wheel of Maharaga and make himself immune or make himself adapted to unlimited void. Or at least any other techniques that Gojo had. I didn't think he was just gonna pull out Maharaga completely and have Maharaga deal with it. But now Maharaga's out, and in the split second he's out, not only does he dispel Unlimited Void, but he adapts to Unlimited Void, which means the Unlimited Void is not going to work on Maharaga at all. And that's one of the strongest techniques that Gojo has. Mind you, it's no hollow purple, but it's still capable of rendering even Sukuna inert for a couple of seconds. And mind you, we don't see Sukuna in these last couple of panels. We just see Gojo up against Maharaga. Things were looking good for Gojo. Things were looking really good for Gojo. But now he's going to have to come up with something brand new, because now that Maharaga's out, any curse technique he uses against Maharaga is going to get adapted. And then Maharaga is going to be able to not only adapt to that curse technique, but also counter it as well. So if he uses curse technique lapse red or curse technique revert, like he's using curse technique reversal. Like, hold on, let me go here. Gojo. Satoru Gojo. Let me go here. Da 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 da. Curse technique lapse blue. It wasn't curse technique lapse red. Curse technique lapse blue. Curse technique reversal red. He was going to use curse technique reversal red, and curse technique reversal red is the offensive power from the Limitless that he uses to basically blast everything with overwhelming destructive force. And it has 2 times the destructive ability of blue, which we've seen being able to basically erase space and render an entire building section just completely gone during his fight with Toji. But now we have Maharaga, who's already adapted to the very domain expansion that allows Gojo to basically beat up on anybody and everybody. And just to show you how strong this is, it's capable of causing Sukuna to be momentarily frozen. The king of all curses, the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer in history, even he fell prey to it. But now Maharaga's here, which means that Gojo's going to have a much tougher time. As much as I like Gojo, I love Gojo. I literally got 2 different SH figure art figures of Gojo. One from the start of Jujutsu, and the version of him from Jujutsu Kaisen 0. I love Gojo. I literally have a Funko and a minifigure on top of my bookcase of Gojo. I love Gojo as a character. He's incredibly powerful, and his type of power is something that I like manipulation of space, and his being able to take the concept of infinity and turn it into a literal superpower that he can manipulate for any use. It's incredible. I love him as a character. But I have yet to see anything fully defeat Maharaga save for Sukuna himself. And Sukuna basically just beat Maharaga down on his own, just constantly cut up Maharaga where he had no time to recover. Gojo's got to face off against a cursed spirit that's capable of countering everything that's thrown at him. I'm sure there has to be a flaw, like a drawback to countering, like, don't Maharaga have to be hit by it first to counter it? See, here's what we're about to do. We need to go back to the very basics of the 10 Shadows technique. So let me just pull up the 10 Shadows technique itself, Snow. So that way we can get fully accustomed to what Maharaga is capable of doing, and also what are the drawbacks of the 10 Shadows technique as well. And I gotta scroll all the way down here, because he's got a long list of things. Okay, 10 Shadows technique. Let's go down to Maharaga. Okay, so we got Divine Dogs, we got New Way, we have Toad, we have Great Serpent, we got Max Elephant, we got Rabbit Escape, Round Deer, Piercing Ox, And then lastly, 8-handled sword divergent Sila Divine General Maharaga. The most powerful Shikigami. Throughout its entire history, no user of the Ten Shadows technique has been able to tame it. So going through here, usage. Maharaga is the most uncontrollable Shikigami in the history of the Ten Shadows technique. It has never been tamed or commanded like other familiars in the history of the entire Zenin family. However, users of the Ten Shadows technique can summon it via an exorcism ritual in an attempt to exorcise it at any time. Other people can be included in the ritual, but defeating the respective Shikigami will not allow the Ten Shadows technique user to use them. Generally, this would be considered an impractical summoning. Nevertheless, Megumi believes this is an ace in the hole, his last resort in the most threatening situation. By summoning Maharaga and forcing his opponent to participate in the ritual, Megumi can take his adversary down with him. So, Megumi Fushiguro twice reconsidered summoning Maharaga before ultimately doing so after being severely injured by Haruta Shigemo in Shibuya. They would have been quickly killed if Sukuna had not shown up. Megumi was already injured, so a single strike from the Shikigami was able to put him in a state of suspended death until the ritual ended. Sukuna arrived and healed Megumi, deciding to save the young sorcerer for his own plans. So, going through here, the King of Curses admitted Maharaga was quite strong, capable of adapting to his moves and counterattacking. And its initial attacks didn't work on Sukuna, and it suffered heavy damage from his dismantle technique. Once the wheel on its head turned the first time, Maharaga was able to send Sukuna crashing through numerous buildings using cursed energy rather than positive energy. It was also able to see and deflect dismantle the next time Sukuna attempted to use it. Maharaga's adaptability is not limited to specific moves, but all related techniques. Sukuna believed Maharaga could have adapted slashing techniques in general after just experiencing dismantle. So that's another concern with Sukuna's assumption that Maharaga can not only adapt and counter techniques used against it, but incorporate those techniques in its own attacks in accordance with it being done to it. Saying as how Sukuna said, like, he could basically learn how to use slashing techniques like dismantle if I allow this to go any further. So think about this. If Maharaga is capable of doing that, and Sukuna took him down before he could do that, imagine what he'll be able to try and do if Gojo starts using his infinity-based attacks against him. Because that's kind of scary. Techniques that are supposed to be specific to a cursed user, Maharaga is capable of copying and using himself, if adapted long enough. That's a concern, which means that if Maharaga gets hit by any cursed technique from Gojo, then he has the capacity of using that same attack against Gojo. Gojo can use the infinity, but I don't think he's ever experienced having the infinity used against him. That's a concern. That's what Maharaga is. He's an adaptoid that can also copy and use the same attacks used against him. That's what he's capable of doing. That's the reason why he's the most powerful and the most uncontrollable of Shikigamis. Because any attempt to get rid of him has made it so that whatever's done to him is used against those trying to get rid of him. That's a concern. Especially considering how powerful Gojo is and how powerful his techniques are. Imagine a Berserk Maharaga using Cursed Technique Lapse Blue, or using Hollow Purple with Reckless Abandon. I'm actually scared for Gojo to use Hollow Purple now. If he thinks that Maharaga is worthy or dangerous enough that will require her Hollow Purple, what will happen if Maharaga not only adapts to Hollow Purple, but tries to use Hollow Purple against Gojo? That's a concern if Maharaga starts copying moves from Gojo. Because the infinity itself, the power of the limitless is basically that. It's one of the strongest curse techniques in the entire series. And the fact that the six eyes are linked up with it allows that technique to be used to its full extent. That's why Gojo sits at the top as one of, if not one of the strongest individuals in the entire series. But what happens if Maharaga was to learn how to copy that? The techniques of the most powerful, strongest Jujutsu sorcerer today. What if it learns how to adapt to Gojo? I say he, but I really should mean it. Baja Blast, that's my legit fave Mountain Dew. Look. This is the only type of Baja that I only drink. I got like 2 5-layer beef burritos because I was hungry because I didn't eat breakfast. But I always get a Baja Blast. Baja Blasts are pretty good. They're pretty good. I don't mind it. I don't drink it all the time though because I try not to drink too much soda. Let's see. To counter Maharaga, Sukuna believed Maharaga could have adapted slashing attacks in general after just experiencing Dismantle. To counter Maharaga's rapid regeneration, it must be defeated by a different attack than what has previously injured it. Sukuna won the fight by using Malevolent Shrine to relentlessly slash the Shikigami before finishing off with another method, a powerful flaming arrow that incinerated the Divine General. So, in order to take down Maharaga, you cannot use the same attack twice. J Music, good to see you. So, if Gojo uses Curse Technique Red, he can't use that second attack to finish it off because Maharaga will be used to it. And since Maharaga has just appeared in front of Gojo, has dissipated Unlimited Void, has adapted to it, it means Unlimited Void can no longer be used on Maharaga at all. So now all he's left with is Curse Technique Reversal Red, and Curse Technique Lapse Blue, and then Hollow Purple. He only has those 3 left, and he needs to bring down Maharaga using those 3. Because if he doesn't, then any other method, if he tries to use any of his moves repeatedly on Maharaga, he'll already be resistant to it. And this is already a big concern, because where is Sukuna during all this? Because Maharaga is attacking Gojo, and Maharaga strangely looks like it's smiling. Like, I know the face of Maharaga is just this big, eyeless, stalk face, like weird face, and its mouth is always open, kind of like Nemesis from Resident Evil. But in this one last panel, I could swear that Maharaga is slightly smiling here. It might just be the way that his teeth are set off to the side. That goes back to what you was asking. He would have to be hit first to adapt, but if the wheel was hidden, then he has adapted to Hollow Purple, Red, and Blue. See, that's assuming if the wheel itself was hidden. Mind you, going back to the previous chapter, we saw the wheel of Maharaga turning. So that could be, in fact, the case, Jay. It could be the case. But we don't know, because we saw the wheel of Maharaga turning, but Maharaga himself was never summoned, nor was the wheel of Maharaga brought over Sukuna so that he could be adapting to all of Gojo's techniques. We just saw the wheel of Maharaga turning in like a separate space, so that could have been a signal that Maharaga was on the way. So, the possibility of Hollow Purple, Red, and Blue still being used is still there. So that's how I feel about it. So what if Gojo has more techniques that he learned in the prison that we don't know, like a divine move that's yellow or orange? We don't know just how much Gojo was training himself when he was stuck in that prison realm. He was stuck in that prison realm for a very long time. But we don't know if he learned anything new. We have red, blue, and purple. But we don't know what other type color moves he has. Gojo was surprised that Maharaga adapted so quickly. That's how scary Maharaga is. He can adapt instantly. He literally just appeared in front of Gojo. And then immediately his first action was to dissipate Unlimited Void right then. So Unlimited Void won't work. I wonder if the turning was the adapting to Infinite Void. That might have been it. As many times as Gojo was using Unlimited Void against Sukuna repeatedly, like, let's just talk about this. A lot of people in this series are incapable of using a domain expansion more than once a day. Gojo has used his well over 4 or 5 different times. I think even 6 times. All in one sitting. And we haven't seen any sign that he's been tired. But, except for that moment where his nose started bleeding. And we still don't get a full explanation as to why his nose started bleeding all of a sudden. They could be, I don't know if it's him overtaxing himself, but that shouldn't be a possibility because the 6 size renders cursed energy use infinitesimally close to 0 when it comes to Gojo using his techniques. So even if he uses domain expansions repeatedly, the 6 eyes enable him so that he can just continuously be able to have as much cursed energy as he needs. That's what the 6 eyes is for the limitless. But this is a major concern that Maharaga is already out. And the thing is, we've seen Sukuna just using his own techniques. This is the first time he's using something from the 10 Shadows techniques. He wasn't using any other techniques that he gained access to when he took over Megumi's body. Now he's just going for the ultimate trump card. The highest form of shadows that he's capable of, bringing forth. It never said that he could control them. It just shows him bringing it forth. But we're just going to have to... And here's the thing. We're going on break. We're going on break after Gojo's very own incredibly powerful domain expansion got dissipated. We're going on break. So it just leaves me with more questions. Like, is this all? This can't be all. There's got to be more for Gojo. Gojo probably has never fought this long, so he's overdoing it. See, Jay, that was my thought. This was the first time that Gojo's ever been put in a situation where he's had to use his domain expansion more than once in an encounter. It shows you that even Gojo can be pushed to a certain level where his body starts to feel the amount of pressure that's being put on him in the middle of the fight. This is the hardest fight that Gojo's ever been in. Literally against the king of all curses. And it's starting to show just a little bit. If that nosebleed was him, pushing himself, even Yuta was surprised to see it. Guess that further proves Gojo was stronger because he had to rely on the 10 shadows. See? The moment... Yeah, I mean, we all knew that Gojo was incredibly strong. But as Gojo kept fighting Sukuna this whole time, he started to get better. Better at fighting Sukuna, to the point where he at last gets Sukuna caught in an unlimited void. But then Sukuna, even when he's hit with unlimited void, still manages to summon Maharaga. It just shows you that's how strong of an opponent Gojo is. If the king of all curses has to result to an uncontrollable Shikigami that's capable of resisting any and all curse techniques that are used against it to fight the strongest Jujutsu sorcerer of today. Because if Sukuna really trusted in his own abilities to take down Gojo, he wouldn't have used Maharaga. But Gojo's pushed him to that point where the trump card has to be used. We don't know how this is going to go. But what would make more sense? Gojo dying or Sukuna dying? Because we know the manga is not going to finish now. Oh no, we're not done yet. Because remember, Jay, we still got Kenjaku, who has the body of Tengen. So... even though we got Sukuna right now, the series is not going to be over for a while simply because we got 2 big bads that are out there right now. One wants to join Tengen with the world and create like this omni-powerful cursed spirit, which I think Kenjaku wants to turn into like one of the orbs that he can consume and thus gain control over. Because think about it. If he were to... Tengen, as it stands right now, ever since he didn't get the Star Vessel... The Star Vessel to join with him back in Gojo's past. Her name is Imanai, Rika. No, I think her name is Rika. When Rika didn't join with him, he was denied the chance for him to continue on as he was. And so he evolved over time into something that's comparable to a cursed spirit, which is something that Kenjaku, with the body of Geto, is capable of bringing under his control. Like, he can control cursed spirits. If Kenjaku uses that cursed spirit manipulation to basically take control of Tengen and combine it with all the souls and cursed spirits that are coming from people dying in this culling game, because the culling game is still going on, then he's basically going to get the power of one of the most powerful beings that exists out there aside from Gojo. So that's on Kenjaku's side. And like you said, Snow, we still need to find out what Yuji is. Because the dude is not normal. He is not normal at all. When Sukuna was outside of his body and he went in Megumi's body, Yuji is still insanely strong. Being able to jump up a several-story building, being able to take a chunk of the ground and chuck it at Sukuna, ripping out a signpost from solid concrete, that is not something a normal human can do. That's another thing that's resting on my mind. 1, Kenjaku and his plans and the culling game and everyone who's still caught up in it. 2, Gojo versus Sukuna and that whole matter that's going on between them. Then Yuji, finding out of Yuji, like what Yuji is, for him to not have Sukuna in his body, yet he's still displaying superhuman abilities that no normal person should be able to have access to. He's almost like Maki, except he has cursed energy. You would not be surprised if Yuji was born a cursed spirit that isn't measured by a grade. Or Yuji is a perfected death wound painting, like Choso. But Choso is not, I wouldn't say it's perfected. What if Yuji was Kenjaku trying to create another painting death wound, and Yuji is the newest iteration? Think about it. Because Kenjaku is technically, the mother of Yuji, because when he possessed the woman, when he basically took over the body of the woman that would be Yuji's mom and the wife of Yuji's dad, he, as a woman, gave birth to Yuji. For what purpose, we don't know. That's the crazy thing. Kenjaku is the mother of Yuji. At least when he was in that woman's body at the time. For what purpose, we don't even know. So that's another thing that's resting on my mind. But we're going on break, and I have no idea where things are going to go from here. Maharaga is here, so we got to see if Gojo is capable of adapting like Maharaga. Should be interesting, but we're going on break, so we're gonna have a whole week thinking about this. So overall, all the chapters that we got today of One Piece, My Hero Academia, and Jujutsu, all solid. My Hero had one of the best chapters I've ever seen of this series. It was absolutely beautiful. It was emotional. It was great. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful chapter. One Piece had a mind-blowing chapter. And then Jujutsu has this one chapter where it's like, insanity doesn't even begin to cover it. What if Yuji is the last finger? I don't know about that. I don't know about Yuji being the last finger of Sukuna. That's like Natsu being the book of END in Fairy Tail. Like, Natsu is not really a human. He's actually a demon created by, wow, I even forgot the bad dude's name in Fairy Tail. I forgot his name. Natsu's brother's name. I forgot his name. But that's kind of like that. But that's not what it sounds like to me. I don't know, Snow. I don't know. But I feel like Yuji's revelations on what he truly is might be a bit bigger than him just being simply the last finger of Sukuna. I don't know. But we'll have to see. I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to rest because I've been doing a lot of talking. I've been doing a lot of reading. But who do you think is going to win between Gojo and Sukuna? It really is anyone's game. Because I'm not going to say that Sukuna has an advantage over Gojo right now simply because he got Maharaga out. And I'm not going to say that Gojo's going to automatically win just because, he's been capable of getting out of more situations, all the other situations just fine. So I kind of don't like putting my chips over onto one side for this series. I can do it for others, but for this one, it's literally anyone's guess. So I can't really say, Jay. Not at the moment, I can't really say. I'll give you something when we get back to this fight with Gojo versus Maharaga. And we see how Gojo does against him. That's when I should be able to give you a good idea of like how this is going to go. If Gojo is struggling against Maharaga and none of his techniques are working, it might move in the direction of Sukuna. But if Gojo's able to keep up against Maharaga and Maharaga's not able to do too much to Gojo, it might go to Gojo. It's like I said, it's anyone's guess. But we're going to have to think about this for a whole week until we come back the week after next. I'm done. I'm going to rest. I'm going to chill. Get back on Elden Ring and mess around on there because I got some things to do. But I'm done. It's a Libra scale. Yeah, it is. It's literally anyone's guess how it's going to go. But I'm done. You guys have been a wonderful audience. and I enjoy getting up here in front of this camera and entertaining all of you. Hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you enjoyed what you saw here today, then please, because it helps the channel, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know, because the more the merrier, and because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples!